Welcome back. It's time for the news review on the AM show. I'm here, Sweetie Abochi is here, and our guests will be introducing them to you in a bit. But you do know this show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Let me ask you, are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such an investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit right here in Accra. And we're inviting you. Invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with a flexible payment option. At Waylead Properties, we provide you with 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay memorable. All you have to do now, pick up your phone and save these numbers: 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit www.waylead.org to make inquiries. And don't forget to call that number. But joining the conversation this morning, Sweetie.
Yes, we have Benjamin Kofi. He is the chairman, NDC Council of Elders in South Africa. And we also have Vickie Bright, former legal advisor to President John Kufuor. Lady and gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So usually on the AM, the news review segment, we give our guests a minute, maximum 2 minutes to walk us through any reflections you may have on a topical issue. But I want to start with you, Vickie. What's on your mind this morning?
Okay. So what's on my mind is the fact that the Ministry of Tourism is celebrating creatives, young creatives, and they don't have enough support. So I want to give a shout out to the minister and her ministry. What they're doing is launching a national heritage photo competition, and it's open to all the 16 regions in the country to showcase our rich cultural heritage through photography. And so they will be expected to submit photos of various heritage sites, cultural products like our food, our clothes, etc., etc. Yeah. So, I mean, good luck to all the competitors, and I'll urge all, young photographers or budding professional photographers to participate in it. So
I would have loved to, enter the competition, but the cut-off age is 25. So I think I love taking photos with my camera, and I think I take the photos.
Art.
But But anyway, we are all disqualified because
we're all disqualified. I'm seriously disqualified.
You are. But Benjamin, what's on your mind this morning?
I have this thing to do with the Galamsey menace that we have. And I'm happy that there are some progress being made, especially with what is happening in the Western region, where we are told that some equipment and 47 illegal miners have been arrested, excavators taken. I think that this is a clarion call, and this is something that we should all be proud about, especially knowing that we are doing it not for ourselves today, but for the unborn generation. I think we should all come together and condemn this. I'm sure that the things that have been seized, as we see it in the newspapers, don't get back to them, don't get back into the forest reserves, and then I'm sure that the battle will be won going forward. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Mr. Kako, for the purposes of distinguishing between the two Benjamins, today you are Mr. Kako. Mr.
Kako. You can call him Ben 1 and call me Ben 2. It works.
Any thoughts before we get to the Ghanaian Times?
No, I think we should get into the papers. I'll look at the social media stories.
Okay, great. I'll start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the front page, President Mahama suspends Chief Justice Committee probes petition. Ghana ready to lead reconciliation with Alliance of Sahel States, according to President Mahama. Illegal miners arrested at Nimri Summerboy Subri Forest. Stop haphazard billboards mounting along ceremonial streets. And I want to start from Ghana's readiness to lead reconciliation with the Alliance of Sahel States, and then we'll get into the story of the Chief Justice. So I'm on page 12 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. So President John Dramani Mahama has, in accordance with Article 146, Clause 6 of the 1992 Constitution, suspended the Chief Justice Gertrude Arabaisa Basaki Tokono, and this was after a prima facie case has been established in respect of 3 petitions against the Chief Justice. And I know we're all familiar with this story. And you listen to the response of the Chief Justice against some of the allegations that have been made. I'm curious to find out, what did you make of it? Can we really say, the wording of even her response, that can we say in good faith that this is not against our democracy and so on and so forth? What did you make of, first, the entire thing, the suspension of the Chief Justice and her response in those petitions that we've heard so far?
Well, I think that the president, like we've indicated, followed the Constitution. I believe that the president did nothing wrong. The president, as our first gentleman, will always do things that the Constitution says that he can do. I think that we should move away from believing that this is a personal attack on the Chief Justice. I think that there was a petition. She has responded to the petitions. And the president, also acting on what the Constitution says, referred the matter to the Council of State. Council of State comes back and says a prima facie case has been established against the Chief Justice. I've read her responses to all the petitions, and I think that this is another brilliant thing with our democracy. We are not just saying that the petitioners have spoken, the Chief Justice cannot respond. She has responded. And I'm sure that the committee that has been set up, the 5-man committee, I believe that these are distinguished individuals who would ensure that she has a fair hearing. And so I'm not going to say today that it was done in the past, so it should be done again. I think that our democracy is growing. We are growing as a people. Once we are done with this and we get to the constitutional review that we are all looking at, I'm sure that the framers of our constitution, the new one that is going to come in, or the one that we are all going to agree to put in the constitution, will help us forestall such challenges going forward.
Why do you think this has become a political football at this point, where NDC is saying that, I listened to Dr. Tanko Computer say they're happy about the suspension. Then I heard the NPP say it's a political, it's a witch hunt, some sort of vendetta that the NDC holds against the Chief Justice now that they're playing out. Why do you think this has become a...
Well, it has become what it is because of how former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo handled the issues to do with the electoral commissioners that he dismissed. I think that, look, the NDC as a party have always complained about the judiciary. I have been on different shows and complained that the judiciary that we have is not the judiciary that we saw in times past. I don't see us being happy. We are happy that there are going to be reforms in the judiciary. And I think that the MPP have listened to their press conferences and all of that. I think that they should also remember that we are all Ghanaians first and foremost. So if this is happening and you think that it is happening not under your regime and you want to complain about it, I don't think that it takes us anywhere.
Okay. Vickie, at this point in the processes so far, what's on your mind?
I think we just need to be careful not to politicize this whole thing. It's a constitutional matter. We all voted for the president. We all saw him holding the sword and swearing to uphold the Constitution of the Republic. And so the processes that I've seen so far are just the president, respecting what the Constitution obligates him to do. I haven't seen anything to warrant all this, brouhaha and the noise. And I think that rather is what endangers the whole process and trying to drag it into the political domain when it shouldn't be. We don't know the merits of the case. It may be that there's nothing, this process ends in a situation where the Chief Justice retains her position.
Yeah.
It may be that it ends in a situation where the Chief Justice does not retain her position. I don't know. We've seen all sorts of content in there, but none of it has been validated. So I'm not even sure it's helpful for us to speculate on he said or she said or they said or whatever.
Okay.
So for me, I don't think the president has done anything wrong so far.
But the NPP say they are going to embark on nationwide protests to challenge this. They're not going to accept it lying down.
Well, look, it's a free country.
Yeah.
Everybody is free to go and protest or agree or disagree with whatever they feel. If I feel like gathering 10 people to go and stand outside Jubilee House, it's my right as a Ghanaian citizen to do so. So if NPP feel they have something to go out there to protest against, well, good luck to them.
Okay, good luck to them.
Well, in the words of the minority leader, he says they will agitate.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, they will
agitate.
Which also reminds me of, you can agitate liquid. Yes.
And then
he says they will agitate. You were going to say something before
No, I'm saying that is not helpful for the Chief Justice, because when you look at her legal counsel, it consists mainly of MPP lawyers. I'm sure there are independent lawyers out there who she could have used, but then it's not for me to, it's her prerogative to choose her own legal counsel and who she feels comfortable with. But when you then juxtapose that against MPP's agitation, it kind of skews it in a certain direction, which I'm not sure she even would like. So I think people should not, we should hold our horses. We shouldn't jump the gun and make this into some kind of the sensationalism is too much.
Yeah.
So I think there should be decorum. After all, we are talking about, the Chief Justice of this country and the Council of State and the President. So there should be a bit of decorum and people should just hold their horses and let's trust the process. Let's trust the process and see what comes out of it once the Council of State has finished its work and this committee that has been put together has finished their deliberations.
Right. It would have been easier to trust the process if the commentary coming in weren't clad in party colors.
This is the problem.
So that's why we are here. But Ben, I think I took the wind out of your sail.
I mean, I am worried as an observer, as a media person, as a person I've studied politics, I've studied law. I'm worried because we've got to the point where, I'm sure you remember the Salah case and everything that happened back then. This is the first time in the Fourth Republic we're seeing a Chief Justice, actually this being triggered as far as the constitutional clauses are concerned, 146. But I'm also seeing that instead of law, this has become a lot more of politics.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
Because yesterday, interacting with Bafwe, you remember, I kept drawing him, because he's a lawyer to the law, but what kept coming out was
politics.
The politics of it. I'm worried because when the CJ, for example, talks about some of the concerns that have been raised, which, again, some of them are even supposed to be secret. How are they getting out?
How are they getting out?
Whom does it benefit if they come out? Why are these things getting leaked? Because the entirety of the process, that is why even when the committee sits, it ought to be in camera. Exactly. So who is funneling some of this information out there? Whose benefit? To whose benefit? Only God knows. But she's mentioned, for example, some purported spending she made. What are the contractual terms? The reference is made to her contract and all. I mean, the devil is always in the detail. Yeah. It's always in the fine print where what lies. And I don't know. You see, the NDC and the MPP seem to be going to different extremes, not as the process. But we've heard commentary from some NDC members who suggest that, she's going to be hanged and this and that. I don't think that helps the process because it's not good for the optics. We've also heard from the other end, people suggest that, this is a witch hunt. There's no, rational human being who would say that this should go forward. And I'm asking, why? Why? Could part of it be that someone appointed the Chief Justice or allowed the process to go through for a specific person to become Chief Justice, and that there's something in there? Because you see, if people start fighting over something, it definitely means there's more than we know. So what is in there that is making, you referenced, that her legal team seems to be of a certain political stock. It's her right to go that way. But why is the MPP fighting tooth and nail? I am concerned about this situation. What is hidden in there? The snippets of information we've got around it, it's always coming from one end. What is happening? And if this CJ had been brought by maybe an NDC executive or president, would this fight still be like what it is coming from? You see, so there are so many questions from both the NDC and MPP ends, but let's let the thing run its course. Yeah. In the end, we'll see whether it ends with diarrhea or it ends with, a mere stomachache.
Okay, so let me do the story about Ghana's readiness to lead reconciliation with the Alliance of Sahel States. And President John Dramani Mahama has committed Ghana to leading efforts to reknit the fabric of unity with the Alliance of Sahel States. And he says that, quote, Ghana stands ready as the bridge to help fix the fabric of West African unity. We believe that through sustained dialogue, patient diplomacy, principles, negotiations, we can restore cohesion and rebuild trust in our community. Why must Ghana be the one? Not why must. What do you think about it, that we are the ones taking or leading the charge to, I don't know if the goal is to return them back to ECOWAS or find a way to still work along with ECOWAS without necessarily exiting the bloc. But what do you make of it? Why Ghana?
From day one, President Mahama has done everything that he needs to do with this whole Sahel thing. I remember one of the first appointments he made was that of Colonel Beblolate going to. I think, the unity that we want within the ECOWAS sub-region is something that we shouldn't take lightly, especially with this influx of terrorists and other things. I think that the president is doing this to safeguard that sanctity that had been there with ECOWAS all these years. I think that if you listen to how the Sahel state leaders also feel about how ECOWAS has treated them, you would want to say that there should be that peace broker, there should be that person who brings everybody to the table. And I see President Mahama doing this not for his parochial interest, but for the interests of Ghana and other countries in the West African bloc. I think it's something that we should all be happy and proud about, that he has prioritized it, not for the NDC government or the government of Ghana alone, but for the entire bloc of ECOWAS.
Okay, Vickie, your take on this?
Yes, I think that it's important. It's necessary, actually, and I'm happy that Ghana is leading the charge. We saw that one of the first things that the president did, as my brother has said, was to engage the countries that sadly, left ECOWAS. We need
even the invitation to his inauguration.
Even the invitation to his inauguration, and we saw how they all came and Traore was celebrated, and he has a lot of fans. So I think that it's necessary. It's necessary. African unity, in general, it's very critical for our development as a continent, because we are lagging so far behind, as I keep saying, and so having divisions does not help us at all. And in this case, the divisions are right on our own doorstep. These are our neighbors, our brothers and sisters, So it's so critical. It's so critical. If they can come back into ECOWAS, fantastic. If they can't, then we have to have such a close working and collaborative relationship that it doesn't drag back whatever progress we're making and whatever planned progress we have in mind to develop our continent.
Like Kwame Nkrumah said, the independence of Ghana is meaningless until it is linked to the total liberation of Africa. Absolutely. So I guess that is where we are heading. So just quick headlines through the newspaper, and you can reflect on one main story that piques your interest. Orchestration to remove CJ assault on judicial independence, that is according to Asefwa. Ashaman chief urges security agencies to intensify fight against drug abuse. Illegal miners arrested at Nimri Samre Boy Subri Forest. And Pope Francis's funeral to take place on Saturday, says the Vatican. Let me just get a bit of details out here. So Pope Francis's funeral will take place on Saturday at 10 a.m. local time in front of St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican has said. The date was decided after cardinals met in Vatican City on Tuesday morning. Easter and National Development. I am here to convince, not intimidate, Oti Regional Minister says. Ernest Owusu Bempa referred to NPP's disciplinary committee. The New Patriotic Party has taken disciplinary action against Mr. Ernest Owusu Bempa, the party's Deputy Director of Communication, for comments he made on social media, which the party believes contravene internal directives. And we also have National Chief Imam expresses condolence on Pope Francis's death. President Mahama, others pay tribute to Pope Francis. On the back page, 2,300 students schooled on human trafficking at Denu, and Zebila youth urged to eschew violent extremism. Which of these stories would you like to reflect on, Benjamin?
Again, I'll go to the Galamsey one.
Right.
Because this is a national canker. This is something that all of us have said that we need to all hands on deck in ensuring that we win this battle. I'm happy that there are clear signs of us fighting this tooth and nail as a people. And I think that we should not only commend the authorities. We should also commend the entire people in the Western region, because I'm told that it is the chiefs and people of that area who also gave them out. And I think this should also reflect with those other communities to where the Galamsey menace is still continuing, so that together we regain our forest reserves and ensure that our planet and that of Ghana becomes what we want it to be.
All right. Vickie?
The drug
abuse.
abuse.
Would you like me to get some details out, or you just go for it?
Yes, that would be helpful.
Okay, so where's that story? It talks about... Okay, I have to get to it in a minute.
Yeah, I think...
Please go ahead and I'll find the story.
I'm saying that for me, this is one of the things I feel very passionately about. That and Galamsey. I'm always writing on LinkedIn about that. You know, because, look, the youth, they are the future of this nation. They are our lifeline. And we cannot afford the future of this nation to actually be engulfed and destroyed by drug abuse.
Right.
It's heading in a very dangerous direction. And I feel that even though we talk about it, not enough is being done about it. That, if you add that to gambling, the gambling addiction, that's literally sweeping this country. I mean, it's like we're in a state of stupor and it's just happening to us. Other countries are trying to reduce, you know, these things, and they have support systems, because gambling is one of the most serious addictions that you can imagine, and it destroys everything. Elsewhere, they have Gamblers Anonymous. I was Googling the other day to see whether we have one. There was just some address in Ofanko, nothing else, which means it does not exist. And
do we even have a colleague? Do we have that? Like Addict Anonymous?
So.
We don't have those support systems.
Some churches just...
Churches, they do that.
But we have to take these things seriously. So if you add this red or whatever the latest version of it is, if you add it to the gambling thing, we are destroying the future of this nation. All the things that we're doing, education, this, that, hey, it's all totally meaningless if our future is being destroyed in this way. And when you look at global demographics, we all know that Africa will have the biggest youth population in the next, in the foreseeable future, 30, 40, 50 years. What is the use of that? I mean, that's a huge asset. Now, what is the use of that asset if it's being destroyed now? So for me, this thing is an existential threat. I mean, those two things plus Galamsey are the things that I'm most passionate about. So I think for me, this drug, I will call on the government to really, really, really tackle this problem in a way, and the two together, in a way that will be meaningful and impactful. You know.
So just a little bit of detail here. It's the chief of Ashama, Nia Nangajo, who's urging security agencies, the Food and Drugs Authority, and the clergy to collectively intensify the fight against drug abuse, especially opioid, as the menace continues to destroy the youth in the municipality. So that was the story.
God bless him.
Benjamin.
Yes.
All right. I mean,
Ben too.
Ben too is gone.
So on these scourges of, I mean, yes, we have Galamsey, but when you look at our youth, yes, Galamsey targets the young ones. You know, though there are the kingpins. I'm talking about those in the trenches.
Yeah.
Then you also have drug abuse, drug addiction, and all of that, and gambling.
Yes.
As well. I've said that, I mean, taking away the betting tax, I have my own, you know, because it's like alcohol and what we do with it, and tobacco products. But I think we've still not realized, people mention that nowadays addictions, it's an illness. It's not just, something that, and some people are more susceptible to addictions than others. I always cite the example of secondary school, and yes, you would see back then in the boarding house, some people going to town drinking, others smoking. Some of them ended up a certain way, others could make it out. We all have different susceptibilities. That's why me, certain things, I don't even go near them. I don't want to find out.
Because you don't know how your body will react.
I don't want to find out.
Me, same here.
You get it.
I just don't go there, you know.
But they are illnesses. But if they are, how are we? Beyond, Gamblers Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. How do we deal with them as a country? I've always said that one major failure is that when it comes to mental health, we don't have that many institutions to deal with them. Even worse, we practically have nothing when it comes to rehab.
Yes, we don't.
Rehabilitation.
We don't.
So it's a serious problem because if you
but the
fall...
Narcotics Control Commission said they have those systems.
I say practically, we have nothing.
Well.
Rehab centers should be all over the place.
Yes.
The documentaries we've seen with the youth abusing red and all of that, especially in the northern belt. How many rehab centers do we have?
No.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
Or would it take, if I needed rehab, I have to come from that place to... It doesn't work. So those are my core issues. We need to address them. Else, like you're saying, you can have a youthful population, which should be the lifeblood of your economy, but you will still have nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely.
Then one. Your paper now.
Right. So I'm doing the Metro Lens. Ghana Gold Board begins licensing of service providers in gold trading. This one also talks about President Mahama appoints Emmanuel Alote as Ghana Municipal Chief Executive. Bawumia says, join me on the thank you tour, Bawumia, to MPP leaders. There's this story about, we've already done about the Galamsey crackdown. Right. Ghana's gold industry in peril. Minority in parliament warns of dire consequences. I'll do a bit of this. So it says the minority in parliament has raised concerns about the potential dire economic consequences of recent government decisions affecting Ghana's gold industry. In a statement signed by Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, the minority has warned that these decisions could erode gains made in attracting foreign direct investments into the economy. I am concerned about this story because if we look at what has happened with Goldfields and how government has engaged them, and also with the gold board that we have in place, I think that we should not as a party ignore what the minority is saying, because my concern is that we need to do it and do it well. It shouldn't be like the implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme and also the free SHS. I think that bring everybody on board and let's see how we can fine-tune it. Because, look, I've read a lot from Kojo Oppong Nkrumah on these things. I've spoken to Sami Jemfi and I said, look, you don't brush it aside because he's making a lot of sense. And I think that our governance should not be that winner takes all, especially when we are dealing with our natural resources like gold. And so this, to me, is a very good story where I think that the majority should also take the minority's concern when it comes to this gold industry thing. And then also join me on the thank you to Bawumia to MPP leaders. I think that I listened to him yesterday when he indicated that he's changing the face of how thank you tours are done. That is why he didn't just go alone. He has asked everybody to come on board. I think that the NDC needs a very vibrant opposition. And so for me, I think that it is a call in the right direction. Once we are the ruling government and there's a vibrant opposition, I think that we'll be on our toes and ensure that the reset agenda that we promised the good people of Ghana, we are able to achieve it.
Let me ask you this quickly. How vibrant is your opposition currently? How vibrant would you say they're holding your feet to account?
I think they are not there yet. They've still not recovered from the defeat that they had. So sometimes when I look at how the mighty minority is not there yet. No. They are not there.
I'm curious to see how you land on that point.
Because look, I've listened to Afenyo Markins on a lot of issues, and I think that the emotions are more than being factual when it comes to what he talks about. I think, honestly, they are not there yet. I'm sure that with the days to come, the weeks to come, they would realize. What
are the indicators that you can use to measure whether or not they are there yet or not? What are you hoping to see that you haven't seen yet? Because I think every policy that has come out, every major government action, the minority have had something to say about it.
I just spoke about Kojo Oppong Nkrumah and this gold thing, and I've indicated that he comes up with brilliant things. Look at what the Reverend Fojo has taken all of us through. And I think that he's not been fair, not only to himself, but to the MPP, because you realize that whatever he's talking about, whatever he's doing, has got more to do with emotions than being factual. And so I believe that there's also the school of thought that believes that what he is doing is denting the image of the minority. And I think that these are things that makes us to question whether they are that vibrant minority. They say they are the mighty minority. We'll see how they are able
Please hold you. Let me get Vickie's thoughts on this. Do you agree?
Well, I mean, it's difficult when there are only, 85 or so of them in a parliament with 275, so I think they need to pick their battles, and sometimes you need to lose many battles to win the war. And I think if not, they will not be relevant, and if they want to be relevant, they have to be very, very circumspect. They have to be focused, they have to be strategic and decide which battles to pick in parliament. Because, yes, there's always a majority side and a minority side in parliament, but this time the minority is really
a minority.
So
it's a micro minority.
So
you don't like that term?
I had to pause to, So I think they just need to pick their battles to be effective.
Before we go on,
I mean, I though I'm not a politician, I've always said that would have probably been my approach. Choosing your battles. You couldn't have said it any better. You've hit the nail on the head, because you can win the battle and lose the war.
Absolutely.
And that's why sometimes it's also said that if you keep mute, there are times where even if you're foolish, and I'm not referring to any party, but there are times where even if you're foolish, the Bible says it, and you keep mute, maybe, thought to be wise, someone who is wise. And there are many instances where wise people will stay quiet because they know when to stay quiet. I think that should be the strength of the NPP, choosing their battles. For now, it's like there are 100 things and Yanko, maybe in the words of the minority leader, let's agitate. All 100, agitate. Rather than there are 100 issues out there, but for us, 30 are major issues, and push and let Ghanaians see that on those 30 issues, you were actually right.
So that they remember.
And then that would give more recall to the Ghanaian that, these are people of purpose who, when they say, they do, or when they say, it is actually something to pay attention to. Like I keep that analogy. The boy who cried wolf. Wolf, wolf. The day the wolf came, nobody paid attention to the boy because he had always been crying wolf. So I think they should, like you said, aptly choose their battles rather than everything getting on them. But who am I to advise?
Who am I? Let's finish your paper then.
Okay, no, I'm done. So the last story that I want to do is government Goldfields reach agreement on Daman mine transition. It says that the government of Ghana and Goldfields Ghana Limited have reached an amicable agreement on a transitional plan for the Daman mine. The agreement, signed on April 22nd, 2025, outlines the operational modalities for the transition, including the issuance of a new 12-month mining lease to Goldfields subsidiary, Aboso Goldfields Limited, pending parliamentary ratification in May 2025. I'm happy that this is a good step again. Let's regulate the licenses that we give to people. And I'm happy that they say that it is pending parliamentary ratification in May 2025. Good cause.
Good news. Vickie, your newspaper next.
So I have the New Republic newspaper, and the headline story is Fraud Drama Rocks CJ's petition. Conflicted Gimpa Law School Dean indicted in leaked document. Raymond Archer rises to Yoko boss, and then the Goldfields story again, the Daman mine, and the renewal of the license at the Aboso mine, and then the spring meetings, IMF spring meetings as well, and on Galamsey, the IGP cracks the whip and reshuffles all commanders in the Galamsey areas.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Reshuffling the commanders in the various areas. He says to bring some, renewedness, freshness into the fight against Galamsey. Is it because he genuinely believes that those who are there are not doing the work it takes to actually curb the menace?
And maybe not.
What's the strategy?
Yeah, I don't think it's because he doesn't have any, confidence in them. I think sometimes you just need to inject new blood, inject new blood into a situation. Because look, these guys have been there throughout this whole period, or part of this period that we've all been going on and on about Galamsey and complaining. And as the saying goes, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again.
The same results.
Yes, exactly. So I think that it's just to, that government is doing they are pursuing a number of initiatives. So I don't see this in isolation.
Okay.
I see it as one of many things they are doing to actually finally tackle this thing, get to the crux of the problem and deal with it. And if, people, we've seen the stories where some of these people have been compromised because they've been there for so long that they've forged relationships with maybe the traditional leaders and other people in the end, some of the miners themselves. And so if they are moved, then, it breaks that whole cycle.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
And let's pray that the new people who are coming in don't fall into the same trap. So,
and if I may just add, it's with the problem of Galamsey, it's been clear, even when the sector minister, Emmanuel Amakofiboa, spoke in recent times, he mentioned that apart from everything else, you also have security personnel.
Yes.
Some of them compromised. Forestry Commission, some of them compromised. So it means that you must have a sort of fan belt of, officials, because there are certain institutions of the country where even if you keep someone for a certain period, even our medical people, they do it. You are moved. I know people who are moved from Kolibu, they are at the UGMC now. Yes. Over time, you don't get so used to the place because that is where corruption
That's when
starts.
The problem starts.
And then it becomes a problem. So that is part of the idea of shaking up. Not necessarily that these people are not performing or something. But, and I think it shouldn't just stop with this. It should continue. So that if you go there and influence can be, influence peddling can be minimized, I think.
Okay, let's continue.
There's also an urgent call for judicial reforms as well. And this is in the light of the Chief Justice's suspension and Justice Bafo Boni being the acting Chief Justice. And then the Akunta mining case. And Deputy Minister breaks ground for Savannah Regional Lands Commission of its complex. And then, these road traffic accidents are just terrible. Now, 8 people have died in a fatal crash. I mean, I saw a story saying that in the first 3 months of this year alone, over 800 people have died. So we really must tackle this thing. It's not good. And then there's a story here about the Bank of Ghana, the governor, and talking about the stable, CD and dollar exchange rate in 2025. This is him speaking at the IMF.
Okay.
And Akunta mining again. And there's one here, but it's about, anyway, I better not say it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's a story here about HIV. The fact that the stop work order from the US government is affecting Ghana's fight to eradicate HIV/AIDS by 2030. This whole USAID being brought to an abrupt end.
Yeah.
So it's actually affecting our fight against HIV/AIDS, or I guess threatening to erode some of the huge progress that we've made in this regard. And then the Tamale Teaching Hospital case.
Yes, that's a topical one.
Which is, yes, that's a topical one. So
they're on strike now. They're making some demands.
Well,
they're asking that
yes.
if those demands are not met, they're not resuming to work.
Which is very, I mean, that's sad because, look, I think everyone knows the background now of what happened.
Yes.
And I think the minister just made an impromptu visit to the place and discovered some things, and then one thing led to the other, and it was unfortunate how it all unfolded. And I think both parties meant well. It just didn't. It just ended up the way it did. But I don't think anything is lost. I mean, we're Ghanaians. We're used to solving things in a very amicable way. So I think the parties just need to come together, because at the end of the day, the same people you're arguing about are now the ones suffering. I mean, this is a huge...
The irony of it.
The irony of it is a major hospital.
Yeah.
And imagine closing down the whole emergency department. So what are people supposed to do? And doctors are there to save lives. So I think the sensitivity should be a bit, calm. People should just be calm. Yes, we appreciate our doctors very much. We know that they are working in very, very difficult circumstances. I have relatives and very good friends who are doctors here. I have very close relatives who are doctors abroad. And the contrast in resources is night and day. So these guys are doing a yeoman's job. At the same time, it doesn't mean that they are above criticism because we are all fallible. We are all human beings. As long as you are human, you should not be, you should not feel that you are not fallible.
All right.
So I think, tempers should just be cooled. And please, let the hospital reopen because people are suffering.
Yes.
Lives are being lost as we speak, and that is not acceptable.
Okay.
And
I think
just to wrap up, and if they don't reopen the hospital soon, they may lose public support. They probably think that it's the government that's going to lose public. Yes, government may, but look, government will ride over that because that's what politics is about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to live with the people in Tamale and the environs, and you will lose their support if their loved ones are dying just because of people's egos. So please, I mean, everyone should apologize to everyone, and let's just move on.
Yes.
And
Ben,
save lives.
something on this.
Yeah, I think she's so right. I saw the video and I said that the impromptu visit, I'm sure, is what caused the CEO, and the way he was also talking was a bit not right. But like we say, this is a matter of life and death. Our people in Tamale should not be the ones suffering because of somebody's not being able to do their work. And I think that it is right that we ask them to call off the strike, go back, and then let's see. I've read the Ghana Medical Association's petition or whatever, the statement. Yeah. And I think that they were also a bit too strong in their language. Let's all tempers calm down, and then let's get a solution that will benefit the good people in Tamale. That is the most important thing.
Ben, too.
Well, I noticed there was a story in the paper. I think it was just yesterday when we had Dr. Kwame Asas, and he was talking about those engaged in mob justice being handed over to the police. That was a story that was in there. I think it was on the latter pages of the paper. But it's not one that we need to get into. It's a call that I support, a call that I made here, which he also supported. I think they may have culled it from our discussion yesterday, but that's definitely one to look at. I'll do the online portals, and I'll start with myjoyonline.com, maybe end there as well. Government and Goldfields strike historic deal on Damang mine. In fact, the major one is TTH doctors declare indefinite suspension of emergency and outpatient services, which we've discussed. But linked to that, a few more stories. He should have walked away. CDD Fellow criticizes sacked TTH boss for staying despite system failure. So pharmacist Kwame Sapong-Esiedu has criticized the sacked Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO, saying he should have never remained in charge of a collapsing facility. The CDD Fellow, I don't know why it says CCD here, said that was in clear violation of documented health system assessments. And he says, that's why I struggle to support the sacked CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, because all of us, myself included, Richard, that is Salome, the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, the president of the GMA, we have all read this report. The way I see it, there are problems at TTH, major problems at the Tamale Teaching Hospital that ought to be addressed. But there are also systemic problems that are beyond the doctors, which also ought to be addressed. We must be fair in the analysis. When you look at what happened on the screens with Kwabena Minta Kando, I feel some of it, or a large part of it, could have been avoided. I mean, I remember at Mills going to the ports and other places, I think immigration and some things that transpired. But look at how calm he was. He got upset, if you remember, seeing Atta Mills upset.
First time,
he got upset, but it was still temperate.
Decorum.
I feel from both.
You know, he is a very calm person by nature.
But I feel from both ends. I saw Al-Hassan Suini with Kwabena Minta-Akando. I also saw the Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO and other staff. I feel all of them could have been more temperate, more pacific in the approach, because I'm trying to justify, but no, this is wrong. It's a human life, but this and that. I just feel that whole thing was unnecessary, the spectacle of it. But what it reveals is that there are underlying issues that must be dealt with from the health, aspect administratively, that is the minister and the rest of them, but also from administrative levels down there, because there's a lot happening that ought not to be happening. So I'm not here to apportion blame. All I'm saying is that they should fix our health system and let it work.
I just don't want, I agree with you. It's just that I also think that the strategy is good. The surprise visits to health facilities, so that they know that somebody's checking out for, the good things that you're doing and the rots in the system, so that at the end of the day, we're not just sitting aloof because we'll do what we can because nobody's asking or checking on us,
So that angle, I don't disagree with. It ought to happen, but this spectacle is what I am saying we could do without. So let's do it. Let's go on with it. I think it's so important.
It is. It's necessary.
Many of our institutions are dormant. You just need someone to pass through and whip up, the right. On that same bit, only 5% of consultation rooms can diagnose patients, yet we build hospitals. Kwame Sapong, Asiedu, on that point as well. But let me go into other stories very quickly. Military training for national service personnel set to begin in August 2025. And it's been said that it's not military training in terms of full military training like you would have generally, but also to give them a sense of, some say, patriotism and all of that. South Korea has something. There are a number of countries that do things like this. All permanent PMMC staff are still at post. Only contract staff have been laid off. That's according to Sami Jimfi. GJA condemns attacks on journalists by Galamsey operators, demands swift justice. The president of the GJA, Albert Kwabena Jumfoa, strongly condemned the brutal assault on 3 journalists in the Western region by illegal small-scale miners, commonly known as Galamsey operators. And that's the call there that we fully support. I'll take your quick reflections on these before I get to other stories on myjoyonline.com. Starting with you, Vickie.
I think that, these attacks on journalists at Galamsey sites, really, they have to stop. It's totally unacceptable. All they are doing is their job, and they are trying to keep this story in the minds of Ghanaians. And without, people like Erastus, and others, we would not see the full picture. So I think that for me, that is something that has to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt with swiftly and effectively, so that it should stop. It just should. So it's just not acceptable. Because what are you doing? You're doing that to stop them from telling us what's going on, so that you can continue to steal the gold and destroy lives and lead to pregnant women producing defective babies. I saw a very sad story of a little baby who was born with just half a heart. Recently, a documentary on that, because of the Galamsey. And the mother had lost the first child, but they hadn't made the connection. It's only when the second child developed this thing that they then finally, during investigations, realized that, this is what... So they have to stop that.
And any thoughts?
I think that the GJA, Ben, there was this issue we were all talking about, the pushing of the mic of TV3.
Yes.
During that. But I've not heard any statement from the DJA. I think that these are things that they should also...
it was actually in the agenda. I saw the flyer. It was part of the agenda. They didn't talk about it. I didn't follow the press conference, so I'll have to check on that.
We didn't know. But anyway, I think that it's a call in the right direction, and I believe that once we do that, it adheres to the benefit of all of us as Ghanaians.
Right.
We have Reverend Jones Latte sending in some thoughts here, all the way from the UK. He says, my quote, I think on the back of keeping institutions running, we do what is inspected. We don't do what is expected. That's his quote. And it's very apt. He also says, good morning, kudos for the excellent work, I believe. £1 is 20 CDs and 20 pesos. Prices of building materials are changing daily. It's not looking good. And he sends that one as well. We have to tame this monster of the exchange. But quickly through the rest of my stories, we still have some 4 minutes or so, and then we'll bring in sports. I sold Kenke to fund my education. ACP Kofi Sapong says so. I always find those stories interesting. Films made with AI can win Oscars, Academy says so. AI is gaining quite a bit of ground. Economic growth speeds up in Africa, but uncertainty clouds outlook. That's according to the World Bank. And World Bank to help Ghana create jobs for over 500,000 Ghanaians entering into job market annually. In other stories, let me get to some of these ones. A dozen U.S. states, I'll end with these two. A dozen U.S. states sue to halt Trump's tariffs. And China sends Boeing planes back to U.S. over tariffs. So all of those, yes, they had been threatening that, there were contracts that were, and so, okay, so we are not taking delivery. It's this whole thing, I have shared my opinions on them, but let's see how it pans out. I'll take your views on these and then we can wrap. Starting with you, Ben.
I think the U.S., well, like you said, we just stay off it. But I think that the world is a global village. No country can grow in isolation. The U.S. cannot do it alone. I think that President Trump should tone down a bit and see how we are able to grow as a global state. Look, I heard him yesterday speak about South Africa, and the things he said, I feel that it's entirely not true when he says they are taking the lands from the whites, they are killing them. No, it's not entirely true. I don't know who gives him that information, but I'm sure that in the annals of diplomacy, we should be able to find a lasting solution. And I think that what China is doing is helping all of us so that the U.S. realizes that somebody is pushing back. No African country is pushing back, but China is doing that. And I'm proud that they are doing that. And I hope and pray that President Trump will come to the realization that we all need each other. Nobody can do it alone.
Vickie?
I think, the saying, when two elephants fight is the ground that suffers, and they are both elephants. The U.S., these tariffs, we just pray for some sanity in the whole situation. I can understand that, President Trump is trying to protect American interests. But at the same time, China is also trying to do the same thing. So where will it stop?
And when will too much protectionism has consequences.
Exactly. And we are all going to suffer in the end because it will cascade down. It doesn't stay there. So let's just hope and pray that this, that people sit around the table and some decorum and sense prevails.
Sweetie, I've seen some reports where people calculate what an iPhone would cost if it were manufactured in the United States. It will shock you. Yeah.
How much?
And
I think over $3,000. If it were manufactured in.
Let's see how it all plays out. Just to end, I saw an article about Elon Musk trying to focus now on Tesla because it's 71%.
AI ashes.
Is that
ashes.
They were